In a haunted Argentine forest, lumberjack Polar Gomez swings his axe, ignoring claw marks that defy reason. But when night falls and the crickets go silent, something with a human face and bear's claws hunts him. What is the Yucamar? You won't stop listening.
If you're a fan of the strange, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of video. Okay, let's get into today's stories.
The afternoon sun filtered through the dense canopy of an Argentine forest on May 21, 1974, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor where Polar Gomez, a weathered 39-year-old lumberjack, carved his path. His calloused hands gripped a machete and an axe, tools as familiar to him as his own heartbeat. With each swing of the machete, he cleared tangled brush, his boots crunching over fallen leaves and snapping twigs. Polar was no stranger to this wilderness. He owned this patch of forest, his solitary cabin nestled just yards away. The isolation suited him. Miles from neighbors, no phone, no car, just the raw pulse of nature. His friends and family called him mad for living out here, alone with the bears and the silence, but Polar thrived in the solitude, or so he thought. As he reached a towering tree, its trunk wide enough to demand respect, Polar set down his machete and hefted his axe, ready to bring it crashing down. But something caught his eye. High up on the bark, deep claw marks gouged the wood, long, wide, and unervingly precise. At first, he shrugged it off as the work of a bear. Bears roamed these woods, and Polar had crossed paths with them before, their presence as routine as the rustle of leaves. But these marks were different. No bear he'd ever seen could leave gashes so massive, so high. A flicker of unease stirred in his gut, but he pushed it aside. Polar was a man of reason, not one to entertain the local legends that swirled through the villages. Tales of unnatural creatures, massive and predatory, haunting this very forest. His neighbors whispered of these beasts, their voices trembling, but Polar scoffed. Superstition, nothing more. Gripping his axe, he swung hard, the blade biting into the tree with a satisfying thud. Hours later, the tree fell with a thunderous crash, shaking the earth and sending birds scattering from the canopy. But in that same instant, a sound low, guttural, and bone-chilling erupted behind him. A growl, primal and close, like a beast breathing down his neck. Polar spun around, axe raised, his pulse hammering. The forest stared back, empty. Trees stretched endlessly in every direction, their shadows deepening as the afternoon waned. No movement, no eyes glinting in the underbrush. Had he imagined it? The tree's fall had been loud. Maybe his mind, rattled by those claw marks, had twisted the sound into something sinister. He stood frozen, scanning the tree limb, the axe heavy in his hands. Nothing. Shaking his head, Polar muttered to himself, "You're losing it, old man." He was alone out here, safe. Just his mind playing tricks. Forcing a chuckle, he returned to his work, chopping the fallen tree into manageable pieces and hauling them to his cabin, where a growing pile of lumber rose against the weathered wooden wall. The hours passed without incident, the forest humming with its usual rhythm. By dusk, Polar's muscles ached, and hunger gnawed at his stomach. Night was creeping in, the air cooling as the sun dipped below the horizon. He retreated to his cabin, grabbing a pot of leftover stew from the night before. Dinner outside was his ritual, a chance to savor the warm night air and the chorus of crickets. Tonight was no different. He stepped out, the pot in one hand, and crossed to a rough-hewn table just beside the cabin. Beyond it, a wood stove stood a short distance away. Polar lit the fire, the crackle of kindling a comforting counterpoint to the fading light. He set the stew to warm, then sank onto a chair at the table, letting the night wash over him. The forest was alive, or so it should have been. But as he sat, a chill crept up his spine. The crickets had fallen silent. The usual rustle of nocturnal creatures, the distant calls of birds, gone. The only sound was the faint hiss of the stove. Polar's instincts, honed by years in the wild, screamed danger. Silence like this meant one thing: a predator was near. His mind flashed to the claw marks, to that growl he'd dismissed. A bear it had to be. He scanned the tree line, his eyes straining against the gathering dark. Nothing moved. The forest was a wall of shadows, impenetrable and still. Unease coiled in his chest, tightening with every second of that unnatural quiet. Eating outside no longer felt right. He stood, his chair scraping against the dirt, and started toward the cabin door, the promise of safety just steps away. But then he stopped. The stove. The stew was still warming, the fire still burning. Cursing under his breath, he turned back, glancing warily at the silent forest. No movement, no sound. He moved quickly, striding past the table to the stove. His fingers fumbled with the vents, shutting them down, and he reached for the pot. The blow came without warning, a force like a sledgehammer slamming into his back, driving the air from his lungs. Polar staggered, gasping, as a massive, furry arm wrapped around his midsection, its claws digging into his flesh. Pain seared through him, but instinct took over. He thrashed, twisting against the iron grip, his eyes darting downward to the arm clutching him. It was huge, covered in coarse black hair, the claws long and wickedly sharp. A bear. It had to be. His machete lay nearby, glinting faintly in the firelight where he'd left it by the stove. With a desperate lunge, he broke free, stumbling forward and snatching the blade from the ground. He wheeled around, machete raised, ready to strike. But what he saw wasn't a bear. The creature loomed before him, at least 6 feet tall, its body a mass of rippling muscle beneath a pelt of jet-black hair. Its claws gleamed, dripping with menace, but it was the face that stopped Polar's heart. Not the snarling muzzle of a bear, but a face eerily human, gaunt, with hollow eyes that burned with something unnatural. Terror surged through him, raw and paralyzing. This was no animal. This was the thing from the legends, the creature his neighbors feared. The Yukamar. His instinct screamed one command: run. Polar bolted, his legs pumping as he sprinted toward the lumber pile beside his cabin. The creature's heavy footfalls thundered behind him, closing the distance with terrifying speed. He scrambled up the pile, splinters tearing at his hands, his breath ragged. A second blow struck, this one to the side of his head, an explosion of pain that sent him reeling. Warm blood streamed down his face, but adrenaline drove him forward. He clawed his way onto the cabin's roof, collapsing against the shingles, machete still clutched in his trembling hand. He turned, ready to fight for his life, but the forest was empty. The creature was gone. The silence had returned, heavy and oppressive, broken only by Polar's labored breathing. He reached up, touching the side of his head. His fingers came away slick with blood. His ear was gone, torn clean off by the creature's strike. Shock numbed the pain, but fear kept him alert. He crouched on the roof, eyes darting across the tree line, waiting for the Yukamar to return. The night stretched on, endless and merciless, the forest remaining silent as a grave. Polar stayed vigilant, his machete at the ready, every rustle of leaves sending his heart racing. But nothing came. When dawn finally broke, the forest stirred back to life. Birds sang, insects buzzed, the spell of silence broken. Polar, delirious from blood loss and pain, knew he couldn't stay. He climbed down, his body screaming in protest, and staggered a mile through the woods to a woodworking shop, the nearest sign of civilization. The men there took one look at his bloodied, earless face and bundled him into a car, speeding toward the nearest hospital. Doctors stabilized him, stitching his wounds and pumping him full of fluids, but the true damage was deeper. When the police arrived to take his statement, Polar recounted the nightmare. The claw marks, the growl, the attack. He described the creature, 6 feet tall, black fur, razor-sharp claws. A bear, he'd thought, until he saw its face. A human face, twisted and wrong. The officer scribbling notes paused, his pen hovering. A bear with a human face? He said, skepticism dripping from his voice. Polar, his rugged features set with defiance, insisted. I know what I saw. I'm not crazy, but the officer shook his head, jotting down bear attack and closing the case. To them, Polar's story was the raving of a traumatized man. Yet the forest held its secrets. In the years since Polar's attack, over 30 others have come forward with chillingly similar tales. Sightings of a bear-like creature with a human face, lurking in the Argentine wilderness. The locals named it the Yucamar, a word whispered with dread. No one knows what it is, beast, myth, or something far stranger. But for Polar, and those who faced its glowing eyes in the dark, the truth is undeniable. The forest is alive and it hungers.
What if I told you there was a boundless vault full of a million secrets, buried mysteries, and life-changing adventures just waiting to be explored? A place where stories lie in wait just a tap away. Well, that place is Whispers of the Moonlight. Imagine you're stuck in rush hour traffic, just staring at the sea of red tail lights all in front of you, just wishing you could be home right now, but you can't 'cause you're stuck here. Except you're not really stuck here. Instead, you've been, transported to this incredible world 'cause you're in the middle of an Whispers of the Moonlight thriller. And then before you know it, suddenly you're in your driveway. You've forgotten about the traffic and you're just consumed by the story you're listening to the point where you don't want to get out. You don't want to go home 'cause you're so engrossed. That's the Whispers of the Moonlight effect. From edgier-seat thrillers to minding sci-fi epics, Whispers of the Moonlight transforms words into boundless imagination and helps you live the experience. But Whispers of the Moonlight isn't just about entertainment. Whispers of the Moonlight offers a passage to self-discovery. Do you want to unlock the secrets of success from world-class experts? Done. Do you want to dominate your finances and transform your wellness? It's all here. Want advice to steer your career? Just press play. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of today's episode in the comments. And remember, we have hundreds of videos for you to binge right now. But if you're looking for a recommendation from me of that one video that's worth your time, well, it's this one right here. So give it a watch. Alright, until next time. See you.